Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jaredcast.
So it begins. Sublime!
Welcome to the
Ready for that.
Welcome to the Jaredcast. We are here to finally talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer, the cinematic cultural phenomenon that has shook the world, rocked the summer box office, and revitalized a lot of people's love for just going to the movies, which I love. Hey, my name's Jared. Welcome. With me is also Jared. How you doing, Jared?
Hey, I'm good. Been a long week, especially at work, but I got some damn good tips today, so I'm in a good mood. I'm feeling chipper. I'm very excited to talk about these movies. Fair warning, saw them a while ago, and I was high, so short-term memory is kind of out the window. But that said, had a great time with both of them, and I'm very excited to talk about them. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It was kind of weird because I was in the middle of moving while we did this double feature with my brother and my two roommates, and it was very, very like it was a very much needed like stress reliever. And then as we were kind of finalizing the moving process and stuff, I managed to see both of them a second time. One for my brother's birthday. I saw Oppenheimer on my first time at the Chinese theater in this with their 70 millimeter IMAX projector, and holy shit, film's just better. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, but it is.
Wish we had that. Wish we had it in bumfuck Oregon, but sadly we do not.
And then I got to see Barbie on a premium screen as well. It's weird. I don't know if you know Prime at AMC.
No.
Basically, it's like
show Amazon Prime movies.
No. No, I think it predates Amazon, but basically the seats vibrate with the subwoofers.
Oh.
And Barbie, cool. Yeah, but Barbie's like the least bassy movie of the year, so it's like I felt it twice, and I was like, great. But the projector was also upgraded, so that was good too.
That's good. They're like putting around in the convertible. Your seat's like shaking like crazy.
Yeah, but we got, because the release date was so significant in cinema history, and because these films deserve the biggest celebration possible, we are going to do 5 top 5s, because
the top 5 of top 5s, baby.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? You know? Yeah. So to celebrate the fateful day of July 21st, we'll start off with our top 5 horses, and then our top 5 beaches, and then our top 5 explosions, and then our top 5 non-linear movies, and then a top 5 fun double features, because this was such a fun double feature. But I've been talking a lot, sorry. I will let Jared kick us off with his top 5 horses.
All right. Fair warning for all of these. I told Jared this already, but I did these at work today, like while at red lights. I just like typed one at a time. And so zero research and very unhinged.
That's a lot of red lights.
Yeah.
25
well, I was
red
there
lights.
I was there for like 9 hours. It was a lot of driving, yeah.
Anyway. It was just on the way home.
No. Yeah, it's crazy. I hit every single one. My number 5 is the horse from The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Yeah, I think that's the order. It was a good short. It was tight. They had some wisdom. 4, the Night King's white horse, which is badass. Number 3, the horse that Mongo knocks out in Blazing Saddles. Short but sweet. Number 2, the Budweiser Clydesdales, all of them. I happen to know they're all clones. And number 1, BoJack, obviously. I talked about it way too much. Your turn.
I forgot about BoJack.
I never forget to include BoJack.
My top 5 horses are number 5, Shadowfax. That's Gandalf's horse in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and the Return of the King. Spirit. The Native American horse who is animated in a way that's disconcertingly sexy, but still awesome.
Nothing wrong with a sexy horse.
The legendary Comanche horse. You gotta add something there.
Oh, damn! I forgot the. I think you should leave horse with the tiny penis.
All right.
Anyway,
Number 3, Maximus from Tangled, I think was just a perfect detective trope. Number 2 is Hidalgo. This is a really kind of cheesy Hollywood based on a true story, but not really. But Hidalgo is badass, played by real native painted horses about a legendary half native, half white guy who. Half-white cowboy and his horse who go to Saudi Arabia and race the purebred horses in the desert. And then number 1 is Brago, who is Aragorn's horse in Lord of the Rings. This horse saved his life in the movie and bonded so well with the actor Viggo Mortensen that he actually bought the horse and kept it. So that's the best horse for me.
And for at least one other person. My top 5 beaches. This was the hardest one, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Because we also didn't say movie. Like we just said top 5 beaches. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
I did movie beaches, but you don't have to.
At number 5, I've got the beach that makes people old from Old. Number 4, I've got all of Dunkirk, which is not a good vacation. Number 3, I've got Keeling King from actual real life. Number 2, I've got Little Puang Mata Squar Matsaport from The Simpsons, season 7, episode 25. And the number 1 beach of all time is your mom.
Stupid.
Back to you, Jared.
Okay. My number 5 beach is Amity Island, as long as you stay out of the water. My number 4 beach is New Penzance from Moonrise Kingdom. My number 3 is Pangu Island from Surf's Up. My number 2 is NAS North Island Beach from both Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. And then my number 1
on that beach.
Yeah. And my number 1 is Bell's Beach from the very end of Point Break. Yeah, iconic shit.
Yeah, I should have guessed Point Break. Point Break comes up very little in this show for it being our logo. We need more Point Break representation.
We do. Maybe we'll see.
We also need we also need more explosion representation. So at number 5, I've got the phone triggered explosion from the Hurt Locker. So tense. Slow-mo's great. It's beautiful. Great movie. Number 4, I've got the fridge nuke from Crystal Skull. It's just so hilarious how it rolls. It just gets out. I love it. It cracks me up every time. Number 3, I've got the water heater explosion from Mythbusters. It made me terrified of water heaters forever. Number 2, I've got the napalm strike in Apocalypse Now. And number 1 from a documentary, the Skyladder from Skyladder. It's so triumphant. It's gorgeous. I love it. It stuck with me.
So good. Yeah, I love that movie. My number 5 explosion, returning to, or not returning. Sorry, spoiler alert, I guess.
For the very first time and only time.
The first Chris Nolan movie to make a top 5 here in this episode, the invisible explosions from Inception. Love that scene between Paige and DiCaprio. The airstrike at the end of The Rock is just so iconic. Have you seen The Rock?
Yeah. Like once when I was a baby.
Yeah. I just
Welcome to the Rock.
so good. In Scanners, someone's head explodes, and it's like one of the best special effects ever. Die Hard, the explosion on the roof, with John McClane jumping off the roof tied to a fire hose, just the best. And then my number 1 is a comedy explosion. It's from the film Undercover Brother, where there's a golf cart chase, and it's so slow and so stupid, but the bad guys who are chasing Undercover Brother, like they see a gas line and then they're about to crash into it. It's like and then they tap it, and then they're still screaming and then it blows up. It's perfect.
You just can't beat a well-timed boom. It's just hard to top.
Yeah, 100%.
Second to last, non-linear movies. I didn't do Tarantino because it's just easier without it. Number 5, I had Memento. I think it's the best use of non-linear. Like if it was best non-linear usage in movies, it'd probably be number 1. But the movie's kind of just all right for me. Number 4, Decision to Leave. 3, The Social Network. The most creative use is my number 2 with Arrival. And number 1, The Prestige. Just like a good magic movie, you know?
Are you watching
like
closely?
2.
So good. Yeah. I went with, for my number 5, the Kill Bill movies. I think that structure is just so perfect. Number 4, I went with Hero. It's kind of like Rashomon, but in color, and like every time they flash back, the production design is a different color. It's awesome. I went with Your Name for number 3. Mild spoiler alert that it's non-linear. Number 2, I went with Mulholland Drive. I don't even know where the movie starts. That's how non-linear this movie is. And number 1 is Dunkirk. Dunkirk is, I think, still my favorite Chris Nolan movie. And he tells you in the beginning that it's an experimental movie, and it still works as an experimental thriller. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I just rewatched that like 3 days ago. It's on my head. And then we got double features, which is kind of our main top 5. It's the entree of this long-winded intro. My number 5 is a shout out to a different episode. It's Wonka Piercer, baby.
I knew this would
Wonka,
make
the
you
Chocolate Factory, and Snowpiercer. I didn't want to, but I had to. I'm just legally bound to bring it up.
You are legally bound to bring it up.
Yeah, it's in my contract.
My number 5 would be my number 1. My number 5 and my number 4 would be my number 1 and my number 2. But I just haven't tried them yet. I know for a fact
I haven't tried.
I know for a fact that once I do, I'll love it though. But in honor of Danny and Nicholas and Hot Fuzz, I went with my number 5, Point Break and Bad Boys 2. I think watching those both in the same night is genius. I don't know why. I've never done it. But it's just, they're just so awesome. They're so over the top and so amazing. and really spectacular visuals, spectacular directing by Bigelow and Bay, and two iconic duos in Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves. So they have interesting parallels between them, and I think that was intentional when Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg wrote this. But yeah, I think those would just be so much fun to do in the same night.
Yeah, I want to. I didn't even cross my mind until you brought it up. But yeah, I gotta make that happen immediately. My number 4 is, they kind of have themes besides Wonka Piercer. My number 4 is Irish people with limited to no musical talent starting out, joining a band, and growing as an artist, and that's Sing Street and Frank. I think it's just both great, wholesome, like, let's try to make it as a band, but from completely different perspectives. And I think it's cool. I haven't watched them back to back, but I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I'm gonna someday soon.
Would you do Sing Street first?
I think so, because it's kind of like the innocent, like, kid, let's start a band, and then Frank is like the jaded musical experimentation side.
Yeah.
So I think they just kind of work as a growth of an artist type deal.
For sure.
And I like to think that after Sing Street, he becomes Donald Gleason, and he.
Kind of sad, but kind of great.
Yeah, it kind of works.
My number 4, I don't know why movie theaters like just haven't, like, because a lot of the indie theaters in LA do like fun double features and stuff like that, but I don't know why nobody's ever paired the Licorice Pizza with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think I would start with Licorice Pizza. I think it's a slightly better movie, but I think that just the triumph that you feel at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the perfect note to end on with the night. I think both capture nostalgia and capture Hollywood back in the good old days, before it got like all crazy and dangerous and dirty. And kind of raise questions about why it's the good old days to some people and not to others. But they also come back around and come full circle and make you laugh at life and love and humanity in a fun and interesting cinematically way.
Yeah, that's great. I can't imagine doing the reverse and like going from the high of the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then he's like, "Oh, this motherfucker's just selling water beds." Like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I think you got the order right on that one. It's a great pick. I think you got something there. My number 3 is the Breaking Yourself to Chase Perfection double feature with Black Swan and Whiplash.
As soon as you said breaking yourself.
Bit of blood, sweat, tears, and feathers for this. I think just thematically, like, the topic of seeking perfection, regardless of the damage it does to you, is complete with these 2 movies. I don't think you need to watch any other 2 movies to like explore that theme, and I think it'd be a fun watch.
Hell yeah. My number 3 is basically just my 2 favorite Nicolas Cage performances. The first being Mandy, which is my first favorite, and the second being Raising Arizona. And I think, just emotionally, I think that works better, because
I think these 2 you could interchange, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it kind of work in different ways, but I think it would work either way.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, they both end on a similar note of of like letting go, but also there's the future is ahead. But just very, very different lead-ups to that. But yeah, I love Nicolas Cage as an actor, and I think the different color palettes would be super cool and super And I think both of them are edited perfectly. One being edited intentionally very, very slow, and then one being edited very, very quickly, and a kind of a breakneck speed. Yeah, I love them both, and I would love to watch them in the same day.
Yeah, yeah. Another great pick. I didn't know you were a big Raising Arizona fan. I thought I was the only one who appreciated that movie enough.
I love that movie. I love Raising Arizona.
It never gets enough shine. My number two is the Fuck the Rich double feature. We got Triangle of Sadness into Parasite. I think they both have great satire. Triangle of Sadness I start with because it's like definitely more comedic, but I think starting with it would prime you for the comedy of Parasite super well. So I think you'd get more laughs probably pre-gaming Parasite with Triangle of Sadness, but the drama won't be lost on you because you're also all eat the rich brain by hour 3 when you're in the basement. And so yeah, Parasite and Triangle of Sadness.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that a lot. Love that there's 2 Bong Joon-ho's on yours because there is no Bong Joon-ho on mine.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, you had to. You had to.
I should have put all of them, including one, Mother and Mother.
My number 2 is David Lynch's Wild at Heart and John Woo's Face Off. Because Wild at Heart follows Nicolas Cage as an Elvis impersonator, and Face Off follows Nicolas Cage and John Travolta impersonating each other. It's insane. It's insane, and I love it. And I can't get enough of it. Both movies are absolutely crazy, absolutely balls to the wall for different reasons. I do think Wild at Heart is better. But Face Off is just so many laughs, so many enjoyable explosions. Talk about that. But yeah, both great Nicolas Cage performances. Gotta shout out the Cage.
I appreciate that at least 4 of your 10 movies involved in this are Nick Cage.
Yep.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
My number 1 is the claustrophobic isolation horror, and it's the only one that I've done back to back of these, and that's The Thing and Alien. I think 2 of the greatest horror movies and 2 of the greatest movies ever made. They both have the kind of feeling that you don't know exactly where the danger is, and they both keep you in suspense in that for a long time. Dangers inside of people for both of these movies for a lot of it too. And I think this just kind of fucks with your head and makes you not trust your friends. And so give them a watch. I recommend it. I had a blast when I did it. It's like some Halloween years ago. Stuck with me long enough to include it as my number 1 here.
Yeah. The message of Alien is don't rely on your friends, and the message of The Thing is don't believe anything your friends say.
Yeah. It's perfect.
So good. Yeah, that's amazing. One that narrowly missed my list was Alien and The Descent. So I'm glad that
also great.
Yeah, so I'm very glad that both Alien and The Thing made your list because I think they're both masterpieces. My number 1 is The Rock and Con Air.
You motherfucker.
These are his 2 best action movies. The Rock is Nicolas Cage in a Michael Bay movie, and Con Air is Nicolas Cage in a movie that's trying to be a Michael Bay movie. I end with Con Air because I enjoy it more. I think it's more optimistic. I think it's funnier. I think it's ultimately just a more cathartic experience. I do think The Rock is top 2, maybe top 3 Michael Bay, but and as much as I love it, I can't put it above Con Air, and I can't see myself watching it after Con Air because I feel like I'd be so exhausted after Con Air.
That's fair. That's con fair.
That's Con Fair. Yeah. So I put The Rock there, and I put Con Air there, and yeah, I think both of those. I also, fun fact, The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off all came out within 12 months of each other.
He is crazy prolific. It's insane.
Yeah.
Did your 4 and 5 have any Nick Cage movies? I can't remember what they were now. I've been too distracted. Were they just all Nick Cage and I didn't notice?
No, the plan was to sneak Nick Cage up onto you.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're locked in the cage out of nowhere.
Stupid. We've already leaned into too many puns. No, my number 5 was Point Break Bad Boys 2, and my number 2 was Licorice and Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm just gonna say I thought he was a licorice pizza, but that wasn't a joke. That didn't go anywhere. Oh, you want to talk about Barbie?
Let's do it. Let's yeah. So this movie is kind of interesting. They announced it, I remember, as early as like 2015, and then I think Amy Schumer was gonna like direct and star in it, or write and star in it. And I was, no disrespect, she's a very prolific lady. I was not really on board with that idea. Because I had a feeling about what the movie was going to be about and what the movie is going to be like, and I was like, I'm not really interested. To be fair, I wasn't even interested in the original with Tyra Banks, but it wasn't yeah.
That one got buried in my brain. You just unlocked something.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting a Tyra cameo, but it never happened. Anyway, sorry. So, multiple scheduling conflicts, multiple creative differences between Mattel, Warner Brothers, and whatever filmmaker or / writer was assigned to the project at the time. This thing went through years and years and years of cycles, and finally, Margot Robbie was cast in 2019, and then 2 years later, Greta Gerwig signed on to direct, and that is when I think everybody kind of was like, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And I think that's kind of where that's kind of where the excitement started for me, because I love Greta Gerwig. I think her and Noah Baumbach, as a creative team, have been so good at analyzing men and women and their place in the world in really funny and interesting ways, and I think this movie is no exception. I think this is not the first philosophical comedy to come out this year, but I think it edges out Asteroid City just in terms of how funny it is, in terms of how crazy it gets, and anarchic. Greta Gerwig wanted it to feel anarchic. It also references a lot of cool stuff, so it's a good like film nerd movie. Yeah, I love this movie a lot. I really, really enjoy it. And I enjoyed all the performances. I enjoyed the direction and the writing. How did you feel about it, Jared?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it too. I think it was hilarious. I was literally crying, laughing during this movie. But I think it was also like crazy profound. I think Greta Gerwig like gives the children watching just like tools to dismantle the patriarchy. I mean, obviously there's like some weird methods they use in this movie that I don't think would 100% work. But like, I don't know. It feels like it's an important like feminist film coming from the white man. And so I loved every second of it. I had a great time. I was worried after the movie had started that because I knew she went into the real world because I had seen the trailers because I was too excited not to. I was like, I feel like that's where the movie's gonna dip for me, but it didn't. It was quick. It was in and out, and it didn't feel bad at all. Like I didn't lose any enjoyment when that happened, like I thought I would. The soundtrack fucking bangs. The production design is like pretty much a lock for me for like best production design of the year. And that's, I mean, you mentioned Asteroid City. That was hard to top for this year so far. But like the sets in this are crazy, dude.
Yeah.
They're insane. Some of the behind the scenes stuff is wild to see. And yeah, it comes together in a great way, and Greta just can do no wrong. She's our little golden child right now. I love it. I had an amazing time with this one.
She's a $1 billion golden child now. This movie has gotten
she's a
way
platinum
more
child.
successful than people anticipated. And yeah, should we score
I do
these?
think. Sorry, I was going to interrupt. I'm down either way. I don't know. I'm kind of burned out on scoring. I think scoring art is ruined for me. I think I'm just like just enjoy it or don't.
Yeah.
I do think Barbie is going to set a very annoying trend though, because I spent more on the marketing budget than the film budget, and I think we're going to get bombarded by Hollywood seeing that worked and being like, "Oh, we're just going to pump any movie we can into your veins."
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be awful soon. I think next year is going to be annoying.
We'll see. Yeah, but honestly, like, I feel like as long as the films have writers of this caliber, of Gerwig Bombach's caliber, and as long as they have like passion and love behind them, then I think they'll continue to work with meta cinema. I've gone on here and I've complained about how everything's too meta nowadays, but obviously there are exceptions. Like I think the Deadpool movies, because Ryan Gosling is so passionate about that character, Ryan Reynolds is so passionate about that character. I can't believe I did that. I think I think he actually I think he makes those movies work. I think Fleabag works for that same reason. And I think this one works because like it's not like I've been seeing a lot of like we're a commercial and we're selling you a product and we're aware that we're selling you a product, and that's kind of what we're doing. This movie does do that, but I think because they go the extra mile, like specifically with the Ken dance at the end, the weird dream dance, like that, like oh, I was like, oh, this is where we're going. This is where we're going. We're going Singing in the Rain with this movie. We're going.
I'm on board.
Yeah, every single opportunity she gets to take it to take the film further and to take the film to a higher height, she takes it. She takes it with, like you said, the production design. Even Ben Shapiro, who hated the movie, said that the production design was awesome.
That's insane. Getting Ben Shapiro to compliment this movie in any way is like, you deserve a Pulitzer for that.
Right? And yeah, get it. The production design, I think, humanizing the dolls, or the ideas of the dolls, the idea of Barbie, and showing her in different manifestations, and having those manifestations meet reality and confront their own being in a different way is so bizarre and weird, and it works.
when she asks her dead creator for like permission to like be herself, I'm like, what the fuck? This is a Barbie movie. We don't need we don't need to get this deep.
I was literally crying. Like I was so. This movie is so heartfelt, so beautiful. And I think the turning point for me, I think when I was like, okay, this is some next level shit, is not just in the beginning where it was like, oh man, I'm finally watching Barbie, but when she gets to the real world and she sees the old lady at the bench, and she says, this is the first old lady she's ever seen in her life.
Yeah.
And she says, you're so beautiful. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like that's what it's all about. Yeah. That's what the whole movie's all about. It's all in that one scene. And it's just her coming back around to that idea of like finding completion and satisfaction, not just in the idea of utopia and perfection, but in humanity, despite its flaws, despite the flaws inherent in humanity. It's just so. We could break it down further. Sorry, go ahead.
The film just like toes the line between low and high art so well. Like the scene where the Kens have taken over during the plot to like get them back when they're all singing individually to their Barbie. Well, I will. Well, I will. Which is the part that I was like crying, laughing. It was the perfect song. I wanna thank you for granted. But like just having something that goofy and that like, I don't know, just kind of lowbrow humor that's like low hanging fruit, but then tying it to like the evils of the patriarchy and how like this utopia is a utopia not because it's a matriarchy, but because like that just has never existed and been thought of here, and that kind of greed just doesn't exist here. It's gorgeous. It's such a good. This movie's gonna stand the fucking test of time, man. It's one of those movies where you watch it and you're like, this is a classic. People are gonna think about this movie in 50 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even to that point, I think it shows it's like a really awesome like culmination of like Greta Gerwig's influences too. And so I think it's a nice like pivot point into like her going into big budget films, because she references all the movies that she loves. Big one of obviously being 2001.
It was so good, dude. The second it turned into the Barbie logo, I like jumped out of my seat. I was like, "Fuck yeah, we're here! It's happening!"
and at the end, I didn't even notice this until the second time, but she does the eye thing, the eye close up.
Oh, you're right.
when Barbie becomes a human.
I didn't catch that.
So good. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is a huge influence on this one. The Red Shoes, huge influence. Wizard of Oz, huge influence. The Truman Show. I think a lot of the like you said, those themes that like that end up in the comedy and in the serious moments of the movie, like all of those are rooted, I think, in her love for cinema. And so I think it's an interesting culmination of everything that kind of made her a filmmaker, and then now it's just like where's she gonna go from here? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We could break it down a bit more. The lead performances. Margot Robbie as stereotypical Barbie, or just Barbie, and Ryan Gosling as Ken, or Beach Ken. Thoughts on
No, he's
these
not
two?
Beach Ken. He's just Ken.
He's
He's
just
not
Ken.
even Beach Ken, but he does beach.
He was just Ken, and now he is Kenough. Yeah. No, I think these performances are great. But what do you think about them?
Yeah, I think it was perfect casting. I think just even looking at him, like physicality, Margot Robbie's kind of the perfect cast for Barbie, and Ryan Gosling's the perfect pick for Ken. Like it's like visually, it's just perfect, 10 out of 10. And they both have the chops to back it up. I think Margot Robbie kind of came on the scene. She gained popularity with Wolf of Wall Street. I know she was in other stuff before, but then like at that point, she was like, "Oh, let's sexualize this woman. Like, she is just this hot thing to ogle at." And then people like immediately realized how much talent she had, so I think she's the perfect cast for Barbie because I think her career kind of takes a similar trajectory as Barbie in this movie. Ryan Gosling, not so much. He started Disney Channel is like his shtick. But I think he's just perfect in every scene. I want a Ken spinoff so bad. Like I would watch 3 hours of just Ryan Gosling being goofy for Barbie's attention in that first 10 minutes. It'd be redundant, but I would watch every second of it. I think he absolutely nailed it. He has so many hilarious lines in this. Like at first I thought horses rule the world, and then I realized men do. it's just perfect. Yeah, everything about Ken is what I wanted out of him. And same with Barbie. Like, yeah, there's just perfect casting, perfect performances.
Yeah. I managed to avoid the trailer, but I saw the poster and it said the tagline was "She's everything and he's just Ken," and I had a feeling then I was like, are they gonna get into the dark side of Ken? Is this movie gonna go dark with Ken?
Oh, you know it.
Is Ken gonna be the villain? Ken is Ken is not the villain, thankfully. But as a secondary, as a secondary character, I think they did explore the darkness in him, and
Absolutely.
in a way that was so funny and so beautiful. I really, really love that they didn't just spend the whole movie shitting on men. I feel like there are some feminist comedies that that do this, and that's fine if it's funny. If it's funny, go for it, keep doing it. But what are you going to accomplish with that? You gotta offer an alternative when you want to change. If you really want your comedy to change the world, you can't just critique society. You gotta actually say, hey, this is actually a way forward. And I think Ken is the perfect vehicle for that. Having his entire life defined by whether or not a woman sees him as a man, and then finding out that it's okay if he just sees himself as himself, not even just as a man, just
as a person.
I am Kenough. I am Kenough. I gotta write that on my whiteboard in my new room.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it tatted on me.
It's so good, and yeah, like you said, the talent level between the two of them is off the charts. Robbie's, yeah, I agree that she looks like the original Barbie doll, and that makes her a perfect person for the just the look of the protagonist. But I think she's always had this this edge to all of her characters, even the ones that are overtly sexualized, and she was definitely getting the paycheck. I think for this one, she's given so much creative freedom and so much room to just to breathe life into this Barbie, into this character. Yeah, love them. I would have liked to see more of the other Barbies. But I think that's just me being like a fan. I don't think that's a critique.
Yes. I agree. And I think one of my only things I disliked about the movie was most of when we see the other Barbies is after the patriarchy arrives and they're all like bimbified, basically. It felt like it devalued their characters. I get that they're like, oh, nobody knew the patriarchy was existed, so it brainwashed them. And it felt like kind of a throwaway, easy way to like just jump ahead in the story a bit. But I think if we had seen the Barbies doing their jobs or whatever, like it would have been cool, and it would have like, I don't know, added to that a bit more.
Like, see the Kens convince them to.
Yeah,
Oh,
see
okay,
that,
okay.
or even like, even get more Barbie time with the side Barbies ahead of time, so like it hits a little harder instead of being like confused with Margot Robbie's Barbie. You're like feel sorry for them as well for like being dragged into it. I don't know.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, I definitely want to learn more about President Barbie. I thought she was fun.
I want to know more about pregnant Barbie. I didn't know that existed. That is
Midge.
gross and weird. But it would have been funny if she was just like walking around.
Shout out Midge. She's discontinued.
I also kind of wanted more Alan. I think Alan is a great antithesis to Ken. I think he shows the ambiguously gay, emasculated ally in a great way, and I just want more Alan.
I think you just need to watch it again because Alan is
Yeah.
every time Alan's in the background doing so. I was watching him very closely the second time. Every time he's doing something funny in the background,
I counted a few times. He was just.
it's just Michael Cera going. When Ken starts.
There's only one Alan.
When Ken gives up his dream house, and when Ken gives up at the very end and starts crying, and
Mojo Dojo Casa house.
yeah, when he runs into the Mojo Dojo Casa house and is crying, and there's like one close up of Alan like also crying.
He was just perfect. He was just there. He was just hanging out, wanted everything to be kosher. Like, he's the man.
So good. Yeah. I've also been kind of like privately annoyed by Simu Liu, just because of his social media shenanigans. But
I haven't seen any of them.
well, when Tarantino said the thing about like Marvel not having any stars, just characters, he was like Quentin Tarantino and Scorsese need to stop being gatekeepers of the industry, and I'm like, you literally picked the two guys who are not gatekeepers. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, I want to see we lose team again. I freaking loved him as
around.
the rival Ken. Yeah, dude.
Rival Beach Ken.
He was so good. As soon as he said, "I'll beat you off right here," I was like, "Okay, yes, Simu, yes,
Yeah. Back.
he's back." No, he was awesome. Him and Kingsley Ben-Adir, the was suddenly British at the very end. Ken, so good. Yeah, love all the Barbies, love all the Kens. Could have used more John Cena, but I don't know.
Yeah. You do love your Cena. Is there anything you didn't like about the movie? What qualms do you got with Barbie?
I thought I did, and then I watched it a second time, and I was like, it's okay.
I forgive you.
So no, not really. I mean, if I had to score it, it'd be a very, very high score. I know some people have said that the movie did a good job of criticizing and mocking Mattel as a company and the way they marketed the Barbie. and the way they kind of mess with women's heads by idealizing women in a certain way.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that they maybe could have done and didn't was talk about consumerism as a whole. Why people even want to buy the Barbie. I think that's an interesting question that the movie didn't get into. But I think because they do such a good job with everything else, I don't really need it. I think having consumerism, maybe the consumerism angle will be the angle in the sequel. I don't know if there is a sequel. Maybe there's a. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
But that. Sorry.
I agree. I think they were harder on Mattel than I thought, because I was like, Mattel has to greenlight this. They're not gonna like actually criticize them. Like, they're just not gonna let that happen. But they did, at least a little bit. I would have liked to see it go further, even further, with like the body dysmorphia they caused. I think it would have been nice to really hit it. But I don't mind because it's fine, because you made a near perfect, if not perfect, movie.
For sure, and it's a lot of work deconstructing ideas and then constructing new ideas.
Yeah, you don't have to criticize everything. You don't got to pack it all into 2 hours. Like, they did talk about the climate crisis, so
No. Anything else we're leaving out? Cinematography by Rodrigo Prieto. Fantastic work. He won for cinematography for The Irishman, and maybe he'll win again for this one. Holy shit! Oh, and he's coming back for Killers of the Flower Moon, so he's working with Scorsese 3 times now.
damn,
That's cool.
big year for him.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you like the soundtrack? It was kind of a big thing. It's charting. It's like 5 of the top 10 songs right now,
Really?
at least. Yeah, it's great. Like the Billie Eilish, Charlie XCX, Ice Spice for sure are all in the top 10 right now.
I do.
And I think I saw others.
I liked the Eilish song. I cry. That's the one where I cried.
Yeah.
I like the Ice Spice song was cool. I think it's a fun little update. I think my favorite by far is the Dua Lipa song for sure. Not just because I love that dance number right before she has thoughts of death, but I think "Dance the Night" is both a great Dua Lipa song and a great song for the story. Yeah, so I'll go with that one.
Was it? It was Lizzo that had like the anti-Barbie song after "Songs of Death." Was that? That was great too. That got me.
So good.
I mean, Lizzo, jury's out on you right now. Sorry, but like that song.
But I always like your music.
The real one banged. Yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna touch that other stuff. But good tunes. I was a little disappointed by the Charlie XCX song. I think it's good, and it gets me excited for her new album. Like, very excited. She posted that every song's gonna like basically be a diss track on somebody in the industry, which is fucking hype.
Good.
But this one, I don't think is her best work, but it was good enough.
For sure. All right. I think that's all I had for Barbie. Watch it. Just fucking watch it.
Do it. Watch it again.
Watch it
I
again.
want to watch it again. I want to see it before it leaves theaters.
It plays so well on a rewatch. It plays so well on a rewatch.
I did see. I think it came from TikTok, but I watched it on Instagram, some guy who did shrooms and watched it and was like having a breakdown after. He's like, I didn't expect to have to deconstruct every aspect of society and how I benefit from it, but I'm glad I am. It was great.
Oh man.
10 out of 10.
No, yeah, this one was great. Shout out to the rest of the cast who I didn't mention. I think I mentioned Issa Rae, but also Emma Mackey was good. Alexandra Shipp, Kate McKinnon, always amazing.
Oh, Kate McKinnon killed it as Weird Barbie. She was perfect.
So good. America Ferrera for the iconic monologue. Rhea Perlman, who I did not know was going to be in the movie until the opening credits. I was like, yes! I'm a big Cheers fan. And Will Ferrell, of course. Shout out Will Ferrell.
Transition question.
Yeah.
Sorry, go. You could ask first if you want.
No, I just you froze. Transition
People
question.
have been kind of pitted Barbie and Oppenheimer together. Which one was better? Was Barbie better than Oppenheimer?
Oh my God.
Which one won?
I knew you would ask me this.
Who's the winner?
I knew you would ask me this. I was praying you wouldn't.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Like if I have to do like if I'm like allowed multiple decimals, I'll give
Say
Barbie.
up to 5.
I'll give Barbie 9.555. 9.8555, and I'll give Oppenheimer 9.85556. That's how close they are in terms of. I think both movies do a good job. Like one being like philosophical comedy / toy commercial, like the Lego Movie, and one being a biopic. I think they both do a great job of exceeding their potential within those subgenres, while also I think that they could have gone a little bit further. And that's kind of how I feel about Oppenheimer. But regardless, I think Oppenheimer is one of Christopher Nolan's best films. I'm gonna pull up the little wiki spreadsheet showing his filmography real quick to make sure.
It's tough. He's so consistent. Like it's insane.
It's probably top 5. It's definitely top 5. Mm-hmm. Definitely top 5. I think I still got to give Dunkirk as my favorite, and then maybe Dark Knight, and then Oppenheimer. Maybe.
I think same, except switch Dunkirk with Interstellar. I loved Interstellar.
Oh yeah, I'm actually in the middle of Interstellar right now when I was waiting for you. Love Interstellar as well. Oppenheimer, based on the book American Prometheus, which won the Pulitzer Prize by Bird and Sherwin. This was originally going to be taken by Sam Mendes. I'm glad it was Chris Nolan instead because, although I love Sam Mendes as a filmmaker, I think this was just the perfect vehicle for Christopher Nolan to continue his streak in just being the most expensive experimental filmmaker of all time. And besides George Lucas, I guess. And like he is... he gets to basically just use this movie as a kind of a culmination of everything that he's been working on in the past. He took that kind of epic scope of Dark Knight Rises, Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Tenet, and used it to recreate the 1930s and 40s in a really beautiful and brilliant way. While also exploring the really intense, non-linear thriller that he went through in Following and Memento and The Prestige. He does it all here, and he, I think, surpasses himself and does it in freaking the biggest, most high-quality celluloid medium available. And the results are stunning. The results are heartbreaking. The results are very, very compelling, so that this 3-hour movie doesn't even feel like a 3-hour movie. Both times I watched it, didn't feel like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Excellent performances. We'll get into those later. But yeah, Oppenheimer.
I think it's a it's a beautiful spectacle. I do give the slight edge to Barbie. I'll be the opposite side of the coin. But I think that it justified its runtime immensely. I think it's like the fastest paced 3-hour movie I've ever seen. I feel like if I missed one line of dialogue, I'd be way behind. It's super snappy. They make every scene feel important and is important. The visuals of it is absolutely gorgeous. The bomb is as intimidating as it should be. I think performances are amazing. Even Robert Downey Jr. kills it in a post Avengers. Robert Downey Jr. He fucking knocks it out of the park. It's crazy that it might come down to him and Ken for best supporting actor this year. That's a wild thought. I think the score, Ludwig Göransson killed it. I was very excited to hear that, and it satisfied me. Across the board, it lived up to the hype that I had, and I had a lot of hype for this movie. I was very excited, and it lived up to the expectation. There are some things that I think it could have done a little better for me. I can say those now or later. It doesn't matter to me. I'll get them off my chest someday. But it's still like, if I was gonna rate it, still in the 9 somewhere. Like, it's still excellent movie.
For sure. I guess the thing that kind of makes this a Christopher Nolan movie is the structure of it. One being the black and white, the objective, what happened in history, in American history, and then the other being the subjective point of view, what happened in Oppenheimer's personal journey. That's all in color. How do you feel about the way the two stories interacted, and the way it kind of does it help give you a more complete portrait of Oppenheimer as a character?
I think so. I think he's just such a chaotic dude that it's hard to encapsulate him, and I think this is the best we could have ever gotten. So it's still like, when we were in his perspective in the color sections, it still like felt a little fragmented, despite it being this total complete story. But I think the black and white sections like kind of fact checked in and checked in like with reality, and it's like here's the after the fact weight of a lot of the situations we're dealing with. That said, I think the black and white focused a little too much on I'm blanking on the character's name, but Louis Strauss. I think I was just less invested in him and Oppenheimer's relationship by the end of it. I think we could have just spent a little less time there and more time on the morality conflict and bringing that out with the black and white versus the color sections. But I think overall they interplayed and complemented each other near perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that I love Emily Blunt in the movie, and she said that when she got the script, she saw that, or she said a comment, Nolan Trojan horsed a biopic into a thriller.
Yeah.
And I think so the intercutting between the color, the black and white, I think is something that Nolan has been great at since the beginning of his career, which is using information to add tension and understanding the difference between an event in cinema an event in a scene and a scene as a piece of information. It's something that's so technically difficult to do, especially in writing. But he manages to accomplish it here in such a smooth way, in a way that's I think equally as smooth as something like Interstellar, which kind of goes in a circle, or something like Memento, which does the same thing, and kind of
It's got a lot of movies that go in circles.
Yeah.
Tenet is basically a circle as well.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I think to that point, I think that's kind of, you mentioned it didn't feel, or it justified its runtime. I think you're absolutely right. I think also what added to the tension was the just insane Ludwig score where, just sitting in a courtroom and talking, and I'm like,
Yeah, dude. Still way too tense. Like, you're sweating, and they're like, Your Honor? And I'm like,
I think also this is like the most violins I've heard in a Christopher Nolan movie since like Dark Knight Rises. Like it's really like beautiful, because like sometimes the violin will sound scary, and sometimes it'll sound super romantic, and I think that's this guy's life. That's Oppenheimer's life, was these moments of revelatory bliss, and these moments of and inspiration, and then these moments of just otherworldly alienation and loneliness and guilt, and it's amazing. Talk about the cinematography, which is a big, very public thing, that this was going to be majority shot in IMAX 65 millimeter, IMAX 70 millimeter, and it's also the first time IMAX is doing 65 millimeter black and white. So what did you think about the cinematography by Hoyte van Hoytema, and who I think has collaborated with Nolan for the 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th movie with Nolan.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think it's what you kind of expect from a Nolan movie at this point, is that like just giant scope. And I think we capture that. I think like the shots of the bomb are some of the most impressive. If I didn't feel weird including it in the top 5 explosions in the beginning of the show, I would have. Like it's that good, and it's that grandiose. But also just like sitting in the courtroom, it feels like equal weight. It feels like equal importance. And I think that's a stamp of great cinematography, when you can do the medium 1 shots or 2 shots of just people talking, as well as you can as the fucking nuclear bomb being tested. That's cinema, baby. That's what we're here for. Yeah, I think I didn't expect any less from these two, and yeah, they held their own for sure.
Yeah. Hoytema is one of the few people on the planet that is willing to put an IMAX on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And it really, really works, especially those handheld scenes. And kind of being in the theater and being able to see when the screen expands and when the frame is different, I think helps not only the story and how the characters and the emotional state of the characters, it also just really makes you appreciate the efforts that the cast and the crew went to go through this movie and to recreate history this way. Yeah, it's so beautiful. You mentioned the explosion. This is kind of the biggest, one of the highlights of the film, and also kind of the thing that the film literally counts down to. What did you think about that scene? How did you feel like, what was your thoughts leading up to it, and then how did it live up to those expectations?
I exceeded them. I loved just like you could tell how far people were from the bomb just by like their placement in the scene. And so like just seeing everybody kind of tense up, even oh, what's his face from Good Time? Like
Benny
little
Safdie.
sunscreen or whatever all over his face. Like he's just sitting there looking goofy as hell. But I was so tense. Like the moments leading up, and said the whole film kind of counts down to that moment, and it does. And I think you feel it the whole time. And then when it finally happens, and then like there's kind of the delay before the shockwave hit, it's powerful, dude. It like I didn't even see it on an IMAX screen or with the best sound. My theater's kind of dingy, and it's still like I felt the weight of it. I felt that, and that silence that they utilize when it happens is insane. It's a bold choice. It's a very brave choice, and I think it paid off. It just makes you sit with the weight of it. One thing after I left the theater was I feel like they didn't hit the weight of dropping it on Hiroshima as well as they could have and Nagasaki. But I think that moment where they like do it, you feel the decision. You feel like the scientific achievement, the glee, but also like this is the end of the world. Like this could be it. And I think doing that with one explosion over multiple distances is beautiful. It's scary. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, really insane that they were able to accomplish this with no CGI at all.
Yeah.
I'm itching to buy this Blu-ray, dude. I'm itching, and I can't wait to see how they do it, or part of how they do it. But yeah, I also something to add is, you know, I agree with it, with everything you said about the like feeling the triumph of the scientists and stuff, and then also feeling this as an outsider and like knowing what it means for the world. I think rewatching it, and this is why I love rewatching Nolan movies, is because like knowing the end of his movies and then going back and seeing these moments, it's like fuck, like this is really sad that they're celebrating, and it's really sad that that our species did this, and that you know you know, ultimately I think Oppenheimer, you know, yeah, it's a biopic, but it's also a cautionary tale about you know, what about kind of like how Barbie's all about humanity as a whole. I think I think Oppenheimer's about humanity as a whole. No matter what, we're going to come up with the thing that destroys us, and we're going to, you know, yeah. This
It's either capitalism or big bombs. Take your pick.
it is, yeah, man. It's an interesting look at it, and it's interesting too that there's so much movie after the explosion. You get to see.
I thought that was going to be the end. Like
Oh, really?
before I saw, obviously, like when it was happening, I was like, we still got like another hour. But like when I was seeing trailers and leading up, I was like, the last scene's probably the explosion. Like it just kind of feels like it would be. But I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad we got the extra stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where I see Cillian Murphy's performance like really take off, is in that last half of the film. If it is halfway, I'm not sure. Time, I don't know. I can't perceive time when I'm watching a movie like this. But yeah, him kind of dealing with this interesting paradox of guilt and triumph, of trying to fix your mistake and also deliberately damning yourself by putting yourself through this courtroom, this kangaroo court, for just to make yourself like feel more guilty about this horrible thing that you did. This is it's such an interesting layered paradox, and I love Murphy's performance because of it. Yeah, so good. What do you think about? Because I think this is their sixth collaboration. Cillian Murphy and Nolan. What do you think about him as a leading man? I know you haven't seen Peaky Blinders yet, so
Yeah, I have not seen Peaky Blinders, and I forgot he was in Dunkirk until I rewatched it. I was like, oh yeah, you're here. Um, I think he was great. I think he was a good cast for the role. I don't think I can't think of anybody I'd rather see play him. He didn't like blow me away. He didn't do anything that like knocked my socks off, but like he didn't have to. It whenever a biopic goes too into it, like Bohemian Rhapsody, you like it turns out more goofy. And so this being more understated, solemn, and just kind of lets you sit with the complexities instead of being like, "Oh, I'm so conflicted and complex." Like it was perfect. I think he played the understatedness of it very well. And I feel like just sitting with him in silence at times, like you felt the weight of every decision with him. And so yeah, I thought he was great.
yeah. I don't even think Murphy knew what the visions would be like ahead of time. Like I think they might have. I'm not sure, but it seems like they made those like weird, like abstract sequences that depict Oppenheimer's brain. It seems like they put those they filmed those last and then added them onto the film. But even without that, I still feel like if you had taken those out, I still would have felt his kind of loneliness and his alienation with that like really amazing like just 1,000 yard stare that he has.
Yeah.
And I like I can I like I can see him like picturing all the kids that the bomb killed and see him picturing everything that he experiences in that room when he's celebrating. It's just really really fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned loving Robert Downey Jr.'s character or performance in this one. Any other notes about about Robert Downey Jr. as Louis Strauss?
Not really. I do stand by them giving too much screen time to him and to Oppenheimer's infidelity, to be honest. I think some of those minutes could have been better spent in Japan or like with the native land that got stolen and those kind of the weight of those morality questions. But I, yeah, I also like I don't know. I still think he fucking knocked it out of the park. And so I do also want to see him just like in that character more. I think he's such a sniveling little bitch that it's great. The part where he is so hung up on what Einstein and Oppenheimer were talking about that ruined his his whole plan and his relationship with Einstein, only for it to be absolutely nothing about him is such a good moment, and it's delightful. He's a perfect villain for this. When you need somebody to kind of focus those negative feelings on besides Oppenheimer, because the movie does kind of want you to root for Oppenheimer, despite like knowing the outcome and knowing how disastrous it is and was for the world. I think Strauss is a perfect villain to throw on top of that too.
I didn't feel like I was rooting for Oppenheimer by the end of it. I feel like it like he it just makes me sad, like for America and for the human race. But I don't know. Like I don't think I don't know. I think maybe because Oppenheimer never actually like went to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think maybe and never really and never really confronted it directly in that way. I
Yeah.
think to that point, I think it's fine that we didn't, as the audience, go to Japan because we have to live with the same level because we're experiencing the guilt as he's experiencing it, and we're experiencing the regret as he's experiencing it. And so I think if we see it, if we see the bomb drop, I think it's a different movie and it's a different way of getting to the same message. I don't think it's a worse way, you know. Maybe if they did
Yeah.
it would have been good, but I don't know.
I do think it would have been a little worse if we had seen the bomb drop, because I think it takes away from that first bomb and how big of a moment that is. And you're right about him not being there, and we see most of the movie through his eyes, if not all of it. But I don't feel him feeling the full weight of it, if that makes sense.
Even in the scene when everybody's cheering for him and he sees their skin melting.
Yeah, even then, I think that's about the only time that it hits, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel enough. It is very powerful, and it was moving me to all hell, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Um, the rest of the cast, we got Matt Damon as Leslie Groves. Very interesting performance from him. I thought he was very good, and I thought he was he. I don't really think general when I look at Matt Damon, but he fit it like a glove. That's just perfect casting. Even Casey Affleck, I was like, "Where's this guy coming out from?" There were so many like,
Yeah, Josh Peck. I'm like, what are you doing here, dude?
but their faces, their vibe, their voices, it's just it fits like a glove the entire time. I love that Kenneth Branagh keeps coming back to do more Nolan movies. He's just the best, for sure, for sure. Yeah, dude, great movie, great editing as well.
Yeah,
Especially the beginning,
yeah.
when
To keep that pace for so long too, and like have it work is insane.
yeah, and there's no like quick cuts either. Like they keep the tension without ever like resorting to the
Yeah.
which sometimes I love, but not
It has its place for sure. But its place is not a half courtroom drama, half biopic nuclear thriller.
for sure. Alrighty. Anything else you'd like to add about Oppenheimer?
No, sir. I think I got it all out.
Alrighty. Yeah, guys. These movies are still in theaters. Go watch them. Watch them both on the same day if you can, because it's fun. And hell yeah. Thank you. We love you. Don't blow up the world.
Or two.